Something is stopping love from reaching you. It's not fate, not bad luck, and definitely not because you're unworthy. The truth is, there are invisible barriers standing between you and the love you deserve, barriers you may not even realize you've built. They don't just block relationships, they keep you from feeling deeply connected, understood, and truly valued. And until these walls come down, love will always feel like something just out of reach. What if the problem isn't outside of you, but within? What if love is trying to find its way into your life, but these hidden blocks are pushing it away? Fear, self-doubt, painful memories, these forces operate in the background, shaping your experiences, making love feel complicated when it doesn't have to be. But here's the good news. These barriers aren't permanent. They can be released, dismantled, and replaced with something stronger, something that invites love instead of resisting it. This is about transformation. This is about breaking free from patterns that no longer serve you. Today, we uncover the 5 biggest love blocks, and more importantly, how to let them go so that love can finally flow freely into your life. Walls built for protection can turn into prisons. After heartbreak, disappointment, or betrayal, the instinct is to shield yourself, to keep your heart safe. But over time, that shield becomes a barrier, not just against pain, but against love itself. The fear of vulnerability whispers dangerous, lies telling you that if you open up, you'll get hurt again, that if you trust, you'll be betrayed, that if you reveal your true self, you won't be enough. And so love is kept at arm's length, not because it isn't available, but because letting it in feels like a risk too great to take. This fear doesn't always show up in obvious ways. It can look like pushing people away before they get too close, hiding feelings behind sarcasm, or choosing partners who are emotionally unavailable, because if they don't fully show up, you don't have to either. It can sound like making excuses, convincing yourself that love isn't a priority, that you're too busy, or that you just haven't met the right person. But deep down, the truth lingers. It's not love that's missing. It's the willingness to let it in. Vulnerability is not weakness. It's the foundation of real connection. Love without vulnerability is just performance, 2 people playing roles, afraid to show their true selves. The depth, the intimacy, the feeling of being truly seen and accepted, none of that is possible without the courage to open up. But that's exactly where fear steps in, making vulnerability feel dangerous, when in reality, it's the key to everything you desire. Breaking free starts with small steps. It's about choosing to be honest about your feelings even when it's uncomfortable. It's about allowing yourself to receive love, compliments, and kindness without brushing them off. It's about trusting that not everyone will hurt you, that some people are meant to stay, and that love is worth the risk. The walls that once felt protective can become suffocating, keeping out not just pain, but joy, intimacy, and the very thing the heart craves most. This fear doesn't disappear overnight, but every time you choose openness over avoidance, trust over doubt, and connection over isolation, those walls begin to crack. And in those cracks, love finds a way in. Love reflects what you believe about yourself. When deep down there's a feeling of not being good enough, not worthy, or not deserving, love struggles to take root. It's easy to blame failed relationships on bad timing, bad luck, or the wrong people. But at the core, low self-esteem can be the silent force pushing love away. It shows up in subtle ways, settling for less than what feels right, accepting treatment that doesn't match your value, or constantly questioning if someone truly cares. Doubt creeps in at every step. Compliments feel like lies, kindness feels like pity, and affection feels temporary. Instead of embracing love, the mind looks for evidence that it won't last. Maybe it's over apologizing, over explaining, or feeling the need to prove your worth in relationships. Maybe it's believing that flaws make love impossible, or that someone would leave if they really saw the truth. These thoughts don't just sit in the background, they shape choices, behaviors, and the way love is received. Confidence isn't about arrogance or perfection. It's about knowing that love isn't something to be earned, chased, or begged for. It's something that flows naturally when self-worth is strong. No one else can fill the gaps that self-doubt creates. Waiting for someone to make you feel whole will only lead to disappointment because love can't do what self-acceptance refuses to. The way you speak to yourself, the way you carry yourself, and the way you allow others to treat you all send a message about what you believe you deserve. Breaking free starts with shifting those beliefs. The voice that says you're not enough was never yours to begin with. It was planted by past experiences, old wounds, and messages absorbed over time. But just as it was learned, it can be unlearned. Speaking kindly to yourself, recognizing strengths instead of flaws, and standing firm in what you deserve changes everything. The moment self-worth grows, love follows. It stops feeling like something just out of reach and starts feeling like something that naturally belongs. Every relationship starts with the one you have with yourself. When that relationship is built on respect, care, and belief in your own value, love stops feeling like a struggle. It becomes an extension of what's already within. Old wounds have a way of lingering, shaping how love is given and received. A betrayal, a heartbreak, a disappointment, these moments don't just fade with time. They settle deep, creating invisible barriers that turn into patterns. The mind replays the past, looking for answers, searching for ways to prevent the same pain from happening again. But in that process, something else happens. Instead of healing, the heart stays guarded. Instead of trusting, doubt takes over. Instead of embracing love, there's hesitation, fear, and resistance. Grievances from the past don't just affect the person who caused the pain. They affect every relationship that follows. They turn into assumptions, expecting the worst, doubting good intentions, questioning sincerity. A kind word feels suspicious. A loving gesture feels temporary. Someone staying feels too good to be true. It's not because love isn't there. It's because the past left a scar that keeps love at a distance. The fear of being hurt again creates walls. But those walls don't just keep pain out, they keep love out too. Letting go doesn't mean forgetting. It doesn't mean excusing what happened or pretending it didn't hurt. It means deciding that past pain won't define future love. Holding on to resentment is like carrying a heavy weight, expecting it to protect you, when all it really does is slow you down. The more it lingers, the more power it holds. It dictates choices, limits experiences, and turns love into something that feels unsafe. Healing starts with a choice to release the grip on what can't be changed, a choice to focus on what's ahead rather than what's behind, a choice to trust that love can be different, that not everyone will repeat the same mistakes, and that holding on to pain only extends its life. It's not about forcing forgiveness or rushing the process. It's about recognizing that peace is more valuable than resentment, that freedom is more important than control, and that love deserves a chance to exist without the weight of old wounds pulling it down. The past may have shaped perspectives, but it doesn't have to shape the future. Love can't thrive where old pain still lives. When the grip loosens, when the weight lifts, love finds space to grow in ways it never could before. Rejection feels personal, like a direct hit to worth and value. A no, a goodbye, an unanswered message, it all carries weight. The mind starts to weave a story, one that says love isn't meant to last, that putting yourself out there is dangerous, that staying guarded is the only way to avoid pain. The sting of rejection lingers long after the moment has passed, shaping decisions, building hesitation, making it easier to retreat than to risk being turned away again. Every step toward connection feels like a test. A text left on read sparks overthinking. A slight change in tone feels like a warning sign. The smallest shift in attention creates an urge to pull back before rejection can happen again. It's not about the other person, it's about self-protection. If rejection is avoided, the pain that comes with it never has to be felt again. But in the process, love never has the chance to grow. Staying safe also means staying stuck. Not every rejection is a reflection of personal failure. Sometimes it's misalignment, sometimes it's timing, sometimes it's just life moving people in different directions. But fear twists the meaning, turning a single rejection into proof that love is unreachable. It convinces the mind to play it safe, to avoid expressing feelings, to settle for surface level connections, to never take the risk of showing up fully. But love doesn't thrive in hesitation. It thrives in openness, in courage, in the willingness to try again, even after disappointment. Releasing this fear starts with shifting perspective. Instead of seeing rejection as proof of unworthiness, it can be seen as redirection. Instead of taking it as a sign to withdraw, it can be taken as a lesson in resilience. Every experience, even the painful ones, shapes the path to something better. Avoiding rejection means avoiding possibility. Every great love story begins with a risk, with someone choosing to show up despite the fear, despite the uncertainty, despite the chance that it won't work out. Breaking free means choosing love over fear, action over hesitation, and trust over doubt. It means embracing the truth that rejection isn't the end of the story, it's just another step towards something meant to last. Love is often shaped by expectation zones built from movies, social media, childhood dreams, and past experiences. The mind creates a version of love that looks effortless, perfectly aligned, always fulfilling. It seeks the grand gestures, the soulmate connection, the unwavering certainty. But when reality doesn't match the ideal, disappointment settles in. Relationships that could have grown are dismissed too soon. Potential partners are judged against a standard that no one can fully meet. And love, instead of being embraced for what it is rejected for what it isn't. Perfection is an illusion. No person, no relationship, no love story unfolds without challenges. Expecting a partner to always know what to say, to never make mistakes, to be the constant source of happiness, that expectation sets up love to fail before it even begins. Growth, patience, and deep connection happen in the imperfect moments, in the misunderstandings that are worked through, in the days that don't go as planned but still feel right. When love is only accepted under perfect conditions, it becomes impossible to hold on to. Idealized expectations also place pressure on the self. The need to always be interesting, attractive, desirable, or emotionally strong creates exhaustion. The fear of disappointing someone, of not being enough, of failing to meet unrealistic standards makes love feel like a performance instead of a safe space. True connection comes from authenticity, not from perfectly chosen words or flawless actions, but from the willingness to show up fully, as is, without the need to impress or prove anything. Shifting from expectation to appreciation changes everything. Instead of searching for perfection, love can be seen for what it truly is: a connection between two imperfect people, navigating life together. Instead of looking for someone who meets every requirement on a list, space can be made for someone whose presence feels right, even if they arrive in unexpected ways. Love isn't about checking every box. It's about the feeling of being safe, valued, and understood, even when things aren't perfect. Letting go of unrealistic expectations doesn't mean settling. It means making space for something real, something deep, something that isn't built on a fantasy, but on a foundation strong enough to last. Love doesn't just happen. It reflects the patterns, beliefs, and choices carried within. Without self-awareness, relationships become cycles, repeating the same mistakes, attracting the same kind of people, facing the same frustrations, but never quite knowing why. It's easy to blame bad luck or assume love just isn't working out, but sometimes the real issue isn't external. It's the blind spots that go unnoticed, shaping decisions without realization. Attraction isn't random. It follows the subconscious pulling in people and situations that align with deeply held beliefs about love, worth, and relationships. Some are drawn to partners who are emotionally unavailable, repeating a pattern of chasing love that always feels just out of reach. Some find themselves in relationships where they give everything but receive little in return, stuck in a cycle of overcompensating and feeling unseen. These patterns aren't accidents. They come from learned behaviors, childhood experiences, past heartbreaks, things that may no longer serve a purpose but still shape the way love is approached. Without self-awareness, old wounds disguise themselves as preferences. A fear of abandonment may lead to avoiding deep emotional connection, mistaking independence for strength when it's really just self-protection. A history of not feeling enough may create a habit of seeking validation through relationships, mistaking intense emotions for real love. These unconscious patterns make it hard to recognize what's actually healthy versus what just feels familiar. Growth begins with paying attention, noticing the common themes in past relationships, looking at the moments that triggered emotional reactions, questioning the beliefs that drive decisions in love. It's not about self-criticism, but self-discover, finding the hidden influences that shape the way love is given and received. When those influences become clear, real change becomes possible. Love thrives where self-awareness exists. It allows for better choices, deeper connections, and relationships that don't just repeat the past but build something new. It creates space for personal growth, for understanding what truly matters, for breaking cycles that no longer serve a purpose. Love isn't just about finding the right person. It's about becoming the version of yourself that's truly ready to receive and sustain it. Love is often shaped before it's even experienced. From childhood stories to social media, from family expectations to cultural norms, messages about love are everywhere. What it should look like, how it should feel, when it should happen, these ideas take root early, influencing choices and shaping desires without much thought. But not all of these influences lead to happiness. Some create pressure, unrealistic timelines, and a constant feeling of not measuring up. Society paints a picture of love that's easy to admire but difficult to live up to. The grand romantic gestures, the flawless relationships, the perfect partner who understands everything without being told. These images set impossible standards. Real relationships have challenges, but when every comparison is based on highlight reels, even healthy love can start to feel like it's lacking. This creates doubt. It makes people second guess connections that are real, but not as dramatic, not as fast moving, not as storybook perfect. It pushes some to rush into relationships that aren't right just to meet expectations. It keeps others from committing, always searching for something that matches an illusion instead of reality. Family and cultural pressures add another layer. Certain timelines are expected to be a certain age. Love should have arrived. Marriage should be in the plans. A family should be forming. When those expectations aren't met, it can feel like failure, even if life is unfolding exactly as it should. The pressure to conform can make people settle, choosing relationships based on external approval rather than personal fulfillment. It can also push people away from love entirely, avoiding relationships out of fear that they won't meet the expectations placed upon them. Love is not meant to be lived according to someone else's script. The most fulfilling relationships come from personal truth, from making choices based on what feels right rather than what looks good to others. Breaking free from external pressures means redefining what love truly means, not according to society, not according to timelines, not according to someone else's standards, but according to what genuinely brings joy, peace, and connection. Real love doesn't need to be performed, proven, or rushed. It needs space to grow in its own time, in its own way, free from the weight of unrealistic expectations and outside opinions. Love isn't as complicated as it seems. The struggles, the disappointments, the cycles that feel impossible to break, most of them come from within. Fear, self-doubt, past pain, impossible standards, and outside pressures all shape the way love is approached. But none of these barriers are permanent. Every single one can be released, making room for something deeper, something real. Change doesn't happen overnight, but every small shift matters. Every moment of self-awareness, every decision to be open instead of guarded, every choice to see love through a new lens brings something closer, something more fulfilling than the patterns of the past. The more space that's made for real love, the more it begins to flow naturally, without force, without struggle. Growth isn't about becoming perfect. It's about becoming more available for love to exist in its most honest form. The walls can come down, the weight can be lifted. Love isn't waiting on someone else. It's waiting on a mindset that's finally ready to let it in. If this video brought value, hit the like button and subscribe to the channel. There's more to explore, more to learn, and more ways to create the love that's truly meant to be.